everybody, the Lawn Gnome is here.
What is it you think we do here for a living, kid?
Today we're going to be talking about a movie that a lot of people were excited to see, especially when you find out that Steven Spielberg is directing a film starring Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep. Well, how could you really lose? And of course we're talking about The Post, which of course is about the releasing of the Pentagon Papers leaked by someone who had been involved in documenting the Vietnam War and uncovering a really dark government secret that had been leading all the way back to the end of World War II, including past presidents, including additional government officials, and basically the Vietnam War was never looked at the same way again. So I was anticipating this to be a very good movie, especially because of the fact that it was such an important piece of our history when we really started not necessarily thinking that the government was all good, especially during a time in the late 60s. At this point in time, 1971, which is when the movie took place, nobody trusted the government, nobody trusted the president, people wanted the troops out of Vietnam because nobody thought that this was a war that we were going to win. And the scary part is, when the New York Times started posting the Pentagon Papers, we suddenly started realizing that the government already knew that we weren't going to win the Vietnam War, and yet they just kept going and fighting this war for endeavors that not many average American people would agree with. However, I would say that this movie was great the first time I saw it, when I saw the movie Spotlight, which ended up winning Best Picture. Not that The Post is a bad movie, I just feel that it didn't pace itself that well. There were a lot of slow moments, especially in the beginning. It took a lot of time for the train to really start moving, and by the end, I really did enjoy the film. It has a great cast, though. I will say that even though I am not the biggest fan of Meryl Streep, I did really appreciate her character as Cat Graham, who basically was the person who ended up inheriting the Washington Post because of her husband passing away. And the fact that this whole event was what turned the Washington Post from a local paper into one of the most read papers nationwide in the United States was a very interesting story to see unfold. Tom Hanks was dynamite in this movie, and a lot of the supporting cast was great as well. We had Bob Odenkirk and Jesse Plemons from Breaking Bad. We had Zach Woods from Silicon Valley. We had David Cross, of all people, who I never would have imagined. Bradley Whitmore from The West Wing, and probably one of the performances that I really liked the most, because I love this actor to death, that is Bruce Greenwood, who plays the Secretary of Defense, Bob McNamara, who was very much involved with the truth revealed in the Pentagon Papers. And it also sends a lot of messages, this movie, about how things are going these days with the government versus the press right now. These days there are people that just don't want lies that may not necessarily be lies spread in regards to staining their name in the American people's face. But at this point in time, I think it's a little bit different, because we have been noticing that certain truths that they think are being posted are not necessarily true entirely. There may be some truth to them, but there aren't necessarily entire truths. But it was a very interesting story to actually see unfold in regards to the American people versus the government, and the fact that in a time where most women really didn't have such power in the workforce, to actually see a woman who didn't even want to take up this mantle do one of the most powerful and important things for the American people in our nation's history, it's definitely a very powerful thing to actually see unfold. Whether you are male or female, just to actually go up against a system that has the ability to tear you down in an instant. How she just said, you know something, we're going to do this anyway because the American people need to know the truth. And a woman like Cat Graham, who actually had friends in the government, to pretty much go against people who she had known for years, that was just another thing that made her such an admirable character in this film. I would definitely say if you want to see a very important part of our history, it is definitely an amazing movie to see. Also, the ending is a little bit interesting to watch as well, and somewhat humorous to a degree. Again, it's not the most perfect movie. It takes time to build, it's also got some very slow moments, and also surprisingly not one of the strongest scores from John Williams. Is it a movie that I would like to see again? Not millions of times, but if it is on television, I would probably watch it. I still would say that Spotlight is the better movie. I would be surprised if this movie won more Academy Awards than it truly deserved. I really didn't think that it is a Best Picture-worthy film. It's still a good movie, but not Best Picture-worthy. And is it a movie that I want to own on DVD? No. I do have Steven Spielberg movies, but this is not one of the better films that I have seen in his library. I am going to be giving The Post 3 stars out of 4. It's still a good watch, it's still an important watch, and still definitely something that I think is worth the money. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Put your comments in the box below, and let's discuss The Post, and I will see you in the next one. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.